So, today we're going to dive into a story that really bridges worlds. We're talking ancient Inuit tradition meeting a future that might be closer than you think. It's all about an Angakkuq, an Inuit spirit doctor, and it starts in a pretty unexpected place, a remote Arctic classroom. Let's get into it. Okay, so picture this. The year is 1969. You're in a tiny, cold classroom. The teacher, she's pregnant. The students, totally bored, just waiting for the endless winter to be over. And then, out of nowhere, an old man just shows up. He's here to tell a story. And believe me, what he's about to say is going to change everything. So who is this mysterious visitor? And what kind of story could he possibly tell that would get a room full of antsy kids to actually pay attention? Well, you know what? The effect is immediate. I mean, for 2 whole years, this teacher has been trying to get any kind of spark out of these kids and nothing. But the second this old man sits down, they go completely silent. They're leaning in. The teacher, who is about to hand out a quiz, just finds herself completely mesmerized right along with her students. The entire feeling in the room just flips. And this is how he starts his story. He doesn't begin with once upon a time, nope. He starts with a vision he had before he was even born. He talks about appearing to his father in a dream, with antlers on his head and hooves for feet, no less, to deliver a prophecy that would end up saving their people from starving. Now, a birth prophecy like that, it's not just some cool family legend. In Inuit culture, that's a sign, a huge one. It's a sign that this child is meant for a very specific and a very powerful role in the community. See, the old man is an Angakkuq. It's a role that's part healer, part prophet, part mediator between our world and the spirit world. His granddaughter puts it pretty simply to the teacher. He's a spirit doctor. And this really gets to the heart of the old man's story, right? He wasn't just born. His path was declared right from the start. That prophecy he delivered from inside the womb about the caribou, that marked him as something special from day one. So his father gives him a name that basically seals his destiny, Atananuak, which means wise counselor. That dream was all the proof he needed. This kid was born with knowledge, with a direct line to the world of spirits. And in his culture, a name isn't just a label. It's one of your spirits. It has real weight and power. But here's where things get really interesting. Atananuak wasn't an only child. He had a younger brother named Uyarak. And while Atananuak was destined for the spiritual world, his brother was born for the physical one. This dynamic is absolutely central to the whole story. This was supposed to be the perfect balance. You had Atananuak, the Angakkuq, who would use his spirit connection to find the caribou. And then you had Ujarak, the hunter, who would use his physical skills to actually get the food. One deals with spirits, the other with flesh and bone. 2 totally separate jobs meant to work together in perfect harmony. And this was the whole deal, the promise their father laid out for them. If they stuck to their roles and worked together, their people would be provided for, always. It was a sacred partnership, really. One brother couldn't do his job without the other. But they were young. And jealousy started to creep in. Atananuak wanted the respect that came with being a hunter, while Ujarak was fascinated by the mysterious power of the Angakkuq. So they made a secret pact. They traded their skills. And in doing so, they crossed a line that should never have been crossed. They shattered the balance. So, what happens when you do that? When you give the power of the unseen world to someone who only gets the seen world? Well, the consequences are absolutely devastating, not just for the 2 of them, but for their entire world. And this is the climax. Ujarak ignores a warning from the spirits and goes on a hunt. But he doesn't bring a weapon. He uses the forbidden spirit magic he learned from his brother. And in this moment of pure pride and power, he turns the lead caribou into stone. And get this, to this day, that place is called Tuktoyaktuk, which literally means looks like caribou. Ujarak's one act of sacrilege sets off this terrible chain reaction, a total collapse. He gets banished by his own father and becomes this feared outcast. Right around the same time, outsiders, priests, police, start showing up, bringing new laws that just don't fit with the old ways. Ujarak, who was once a hero hunter, is now labeled a demon, and his tragic story ends when he's shot and killed by a policeman. I mean, this just perfectly captures the collision of these 2 worlds. The Inuit had this incredibly complex system of laws all about maintaining balance with the world, things you avoid, things you follow, things you must do. And the Angakkuq's job was to help keep that balance. But the newcomers, they took one look at all this and saw nothing. They literally declared, we had no laws of our own. Inuit just lays it out so clearly in his own words. The real problem was the loss of balance. What started as a personal tragedy between two brothers ended up becoming the tragedy of their entire people. Their broken trust just mirrored the huge cultural breakdown that was coming for them. So, years and years go by. The story he told in the classroom is over. But Inuit's own story? It's not finished, not by a long shot. The final act happens right there, in the present, between the dying Angakkuq and the pregnant teacher.
The teacher was so moved by his story that she goes to visit the old man. He's really sick now with pneumonia. And while she's there, he's struggling to tell her something really important. He points to himself, then he points to her pregnant belly, and he just keeps repeating one word, Atan.
At first, she has no idea what he's trying to say, but later, she finds out what he was asking. In Inuit culture, a name isn't just a name, it's a spirit. It carries the very essence of a person. So, when you give a newborn the name of someone who has just died, you're allowing that person's name spirit to live on, to be reborn in a new life. And the teacher, who started this whole thing as a skeptical outsider, she gets it. She understands. Inuit has no sons, no grandsons. He wants his name spirit to continue in her unborn child. And in that one moment, she just closes the gap between their two worlds. And she says yes. After she leaves, the old man knows. He speaks his final prophecy. He knows she's going to do it. His spirit, the spirit of the Angakkuq, the wise counselor, it isn't going to die. It's going to be reborn, but in a way that nobody could have ever predicted. And then the story takes this huge, shocking leap. We're not in 1969 anymore. We're suddenly in Washington, D.C. in the year 2042. And it's a grim future. Checkpoints, soldiers, surveillance, everywhere. A 73-year-old man has just arrived in the city. And that man, of course, is Atan, the teacher's son. He's carrying the name spirit of the Angakkuq. And that leaves us and you with one heck of a question. What happens when an ancient spirit of wisdom and balance is reborn into a world that has completely and totally lost its own?